Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the Charvak podcast. This is your host, Kushal Mehra. Time for another podcast, another live stream. And I have with me today my friend and someone I've been following and reading for a while, Abhijit Majumder. Abhijit, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks, Kushal. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
So today's discussion is going to be on the expanding digital landscape. So I'll tell you guys why I decided to have this discussion. So a few days ago, as you guys know, if you follow Abhijit on Twitter, so they made an announcement of a new platform, and this is a very interesting platform. It is called EarShot.in. So I got really excited and I messaged Abhijit. I was like, why don't you come on my podcast and let's talk about it? So my first question to Abhijita is, Abhijita, suddenly this so your foray from print to podcasting, how does this journey start? Why did you decide to make this jump into the new field of podcasting?
Kushal, yeah, I mean, this is an entirely new medium for me. It's been extremely exciting. Why we decided to get into audio, get into podcasts, and so we were looking at the entire media landscape and what's been happening, what's been doing well, what where the potential lies, and we reckon that first of all, digital, of course, there's been it has seen the biggest growth in the last few years, except gaming. Other than gaming is a close second. If you look at the figures here, digital has grown by about 43.4% in 2019 year on year, and over a period of 5 years, it's grown 38.5%, almost a 40% growth, with gaming coming second with 26.4% growth. So these are areas where where we saw that there is growth. There's investors are excited. And also, in a sense, it's almost going back to old journalism for me. I mean, going to the spot and reporting it, and it's like a audio on radio and digital. So we've all grown up with listening to radio and All India Radio, BBC, Akashvani. That is something. Unfortunately, the our radio space is not open for news, but digitally one can do audio, and we soon found out that it's a very, very potent medium to talk about what you want to talk about. And also there's you can reach every corner of India with the language of the land. So that is another thing that excited us.
You mentioned something very important. You use these words, the language of the land, and I've noticed this with you guys at Earshot Iran. So as of now, if I remember correctly, it's in Hindi, English, Bengali, Assamese, and Bhojpuri. Now that's very interesting that you've chosen Bhojpuri as a language to produce content. Now if somebody was to go out and tell you that here's my plan. I'm going to be laying out content in Bhojpuri. Somebody might look at you and be like, what are you talking about? But people don't realize that even if we look at YouTube statistics, like English language YouTube does not tend to get the kind of numbers that Hindi language YouTube gets, or Malayalam gets, or Tamil gets, or Hindi gets. But just a question, why Bhojpuri? What was the reason behind it?
Bhojpuri is one of the biggest dialects. If you don't wish to call it a full language, it's at least it's a extremely rich language. Unfortunately, what has happened is, because of the kind of content that has been going out in Bhojpuri, in cinema and in songs, etc., it has become a caricature of itself. Bhojpuri listener, somebody who's a serious listener, who's um, also aspirational, you know, eh, the content that has been going out doesn't give you the pride in being a Bhojpuri speaker, frankly. So there's a immense. It's almost a green field. You can say that okay, so and so has been making lipstick lagelu. Somebody has been making all sorts of slightly B grade, C grade movies, etc. But nobody has been making interesting, good content in Bhojpuri. We thought that Bhojpuri is, and also Bhojpuri has a massive diaspora presence. Bhojpuri has traveled, 100, 200, 300 years ago with the migrants, with the Indian immigrants, migrants, some of whom had been, forcefully taken across the Kalapani. And you have Bhojpuri in Fiji, you have Bhojpuri in Guyana, you have Bhojpuri in Trinidad, you have Bhojpuri in Mauritius, coexisting with French as Creole. You have Bhojpuri playing in even a Amsterdam nightclub. So there's it's a phenomenal language, which a lot can be done with that. We're trying to do it. You'll see some of this audio series coming in Bhojpuri, which will be, I am hoping people will like it. I think will be very compelling, very different content in Bhojpuri than what we have heard so far.
So I was just looking at the content, not just in Bhojpuri, but in general with Hindi and Bhojpuri both. And what I find interesting is that you guys are not just sticking to like one genre per se, right? When it comes to content generation. So say somebody was to go right now, log into EarShot IN, what are they going to expect when it comes to content? So what is the landscape of content that EarShot.in is planning on doing in the future, or it has on right now?
Okay, just a small digression, Kushal. You may watch it. You may listen to the entire content on earshot.in. But for a better, more personalized experience, one should I'd request people to download the EarShot app, both Android and iOS. That gives you a much better experience. You can track the content that you've been listening, and a lot of AI kicks in, etc. Anyway, to answer your question, it starts with news exclusives. We have intentionally tried to, of course, we have the bulletins 4 times a day, 3 times a day, and we have something called a good news bulletin. Okay, which is uploaded very early in the morning. So when you're going out jogging, and you've had a pretty screwed up day, in a very screwed up year, you can good news is it kind of makes you feel good. सब कुछ खराब नहीं हो रहा है दुनिया में. So that was the idea behind it. I think it's a important year to have a good news bulletin. So after that, you have the exclusives which we break. You have explainers, you have interviews. So this is mostly news. Then there are news features or documentaries, and there are non-news features. So these are like a Netflix. You have a Netflix kind of audio experience in reality in news. Doing some kind of a deep dive. For instance, our series on riots. We went to this Gokulpuri Canal in Delhi, around which the Delhi riots, the worst action of Delhi riots happened around there. And suddenly a dried up nalla in Delhi the bodies were being dumped, and there was bloodshed, and we've got voices from both sides, and so there's a lot of scope for this kind of or India's loneliest jobs. When you're a forest ranger, you're patrolling the forest alone, and how is it or you man a lighthouse somewhere. So these are things that we have started a series called Bahubali. We have started a series on India's spies who work, quietly work, and those episodes where exceptional work was done. um, so there's a lot of that content, but also interestingly, a lot of people would want to listen to, there's a great scope of storytelling on audio. I mean, we've grown up listening to our parents telling us stories. They never had a video to sort of illustrate it for us. The rest would be left to our imagination. So uh, oral storytelling, audio storytelling is a very, very powerful medium. So we have fiction in every language. These are written by very talented people. This is produced, the VO production, etc., done by thorough professionals. Um, and yeah, so that is more or less the content landscape. It's ambitious. It's vast, one can say. But yeah, I mean, I think
So
it.
I want to go back to that part where you say you have this first. You start the day with the good news bulletin. Now I'll tell you why I find that fascinating, because when I started this podcast like 3 years ago, everybody would be like, Kushal, you have to make a type of thumbnail which is very extravagant. You have to have a very clickbaity title so that people get excited and they come on your podcast. And I have a policy. I will not do that. I will not use clickbaity titles, and I've never been that. And I have stuck my guns even for 3 years, because I was doing this for a passion, because I love it. I love talking to people, and I still maintain that. For me, my podcast is something that I love doing. The money comes later on, because I have a full time profession, anyways. I have a full time business, but it's very hard in. So we are talking about the digital
You're
sphere
doing
where
you're doing an incredible job, Kushal. There's much to learn for us from you.
that you're very kind, but my here's my question. So how did you control the urge of starting the day with a good news rather than a clickbaity bad news title, because that's completely the opposite of what we've been taught on the digital world, right? You're supposed to grab eyeballs. So the more crazier the news, the better off you are in terms of, see, at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. So how did you guys come about? How did you rationalize your position? No, we want to start our viewers day with actually a good news. So how did that rationalization go about?
If we were making content only for fellow journalists like me, of course, we would go with bad news. We rebel instinctively. Tend to love jitna kharab se kharab news. But one should one should think about the faceless person out there who's listening. And frankly, if you listen to when you speak to people outside your ecosystem or echo chamber, you see that you get a very strong sense that people are very fed up. People are fed up with sad, violent, angry stuff. So they really want to know what are the nice, positive things also happening in the world. And whether we accept it or not, the world has over the centuries, millennia, world has got better. That is my view, and I think the people should know what's the nice things about that are happening across the world. Somebody just taking out his piano and playing it for his neighbors. just like that, because it's a gloomy sort of COVID situation, etc., etc. It's just somebody even rescuing animals, somebody doing exceptional work somewhere. These are stories that keep you going as human beings.
So one more thing that I always wondered was that EarShot has stuck to the audio only medium. So do you guys have no plans to maybe go with the video option, or you guys are just going to be purely audio? And what was the thinking behind that? Because I'll give you my journey. I started off audio only, and then I was kind of forced into the video version by my viewers. They were like, no, no, you have to do video. We want to see video. And now I'm kind of doing video, and then I extract the audio out of the video and post it online. But you guys have started with audio, and you're going to kind of stick to audio, or do you guys have plans to do some kind of a video thing too?
See, we have a plan to we are starting out on our YouTube channel, so there will be some content which we put out, maybe some interviews, etc., or some documentary on video. But that would be very small part of our very small part of our content. We have consciously decided to, you should do focus on one thing instead of trying to be everything. We felt that we should at least gain one medium well. So we will keep, our focus will be very much on audio. There's no doubt about it. Or there would be some shows where you can listen to the audio. You primarily plug in for audio, but there would be visuals floating past and stuff like that. So those kind of things will happen, but it is an audio platform. It will, at least we haven't thought of anything otherwise.
So I was just looking at the Hindi content now. Usually, and this is my view, so correct me if I'm wrong, usually you're either a political kind of socio-political issue place, or you're a sports place. But when I was looking at the content landscape of earshot.in, you have Bollywood, you have storytelling, you have different kinds of things. So how does one draw that line, and how does one pick out so why did EarShot decide to have a bit of everything rather than just sticking on news and views? Or is there like a internal core that EarShot is going to be focusing on per se, with a bit of the rest? Is there something like that, or EarShot is going to be the one platform where, hey, if you want to have sport, you can come to us. If you want to have Bollywood, you can come to us. If you want to have news and views, you can come to us. So what is going to be the essence of EarShot in that sense?
You see, EarShot has and will have a little bit for everybody, as much as possible. But EarShot is news led, unlike a lot of news and reporting led. So, unlike a lot of podcasts and shows, first of all, EarShot only produces original content. We still don't do aggregation. Secondly, our news features, we actually have voices from the ground. So we are either our reporters are going to those people and speaking to them, or our stringers are doing it, or we are calling them and getting that. This. So it's at the core, it is a reporting led, news led thing. But having said that, there's a very strong demand for entertainment, lifestyle, as I said, storytelling, fiction, which is one of the most powerful tools for audio. If you have great fiction, so we decided to be like a Hotstar or a Netflix or a Amazon, or whatever I suppose Z5, although these guys don't do news that much. I mean, I no, they don't do news, but yes, uh, in audio we are very much driven by news. Even our news
So,
features are led by reporting, not by
all right.
somebody just. Uh, Sorry.
So let's say so you use the word you guys are aggregators. So let's say if I am
We are not. We are not. We are not. We are not yet. We are not aggregating. We are not taking some other feed and saying that okay, you can also listen to say Spotify or something else on EarShot. We are only making original content. We're focusing on original content. We're making original content. That is our USP, and we have quite a bit of original content already.
so if I wanted to subscribe to, or if I wanted to access the content of Earshot, so the only way I get to do that is either I go on the website or I download the app. So I won't get Earshot on, let's say, Spotify or say iTunes or Stitcher or any of that sort.
Yeah, you'll get some content in on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, etc. The only the content that we put out, which is mostly bulletins and a few shows, not all, because we are producing premium content. We are investing in content. We are producing it. We don't want it. We don't want all our content to be freely accessible across most aggregating platforms, unless we have an arrangement with them, of course.
All right, got it. So let's say if I was a content creator and I had some content, or I had done maybe something in rural Punjab or rural Bihar or rural Uttar Pradesh, and I had shot a video and I had done a story covering, and I have my sources ready and I have everything ready, or I have a fictional story. So how would I go and contact Earshot and .in, and can I share my content with them, and can Earshot then come up with some sort of a understanding with that content producer, and then maybe lend their platform to that producer or something of that sort?
Absolutely, absolutely. We are going to do this even more. I mean, right now, if you go to Earshot, you'll find a contact us sort of thing, or you can mail things to us. But that is, that is not the best arrangement. We will very soon have a system in place where you can actually formally approach us that you have this kind of a content. We can, and then we can, if it is great content, we will be most happy to take, take it from people. Even in some cases, pay them for that content, or come to a different, sharing arrangement or whatever. I mean, we are very, very open to that. This should be, whatever platforms we do, should it should be a platform for excellence. And there are extremely good, amazing talent across India in audio who nobody has heard about also, right?
Yeah, that's very interesting. That means, so what you guys are trying to do actually is not just maybe look at producing content and then using current platforms of putting it out there. So this is maybe a far more tougher path that you guys are taking, right? Because I mean, I'll be very honest. I mean, I just produce the content, I talk to people, and I just put it on various platforms, and that's the end of the story for me. But you guys seem to be doing, where you're involved in the production, you're involved in everything, and then you have your exclusive platform too. So uh, so do you think, I don't know how to use put it across, but do you think India as a country is ready for something like that?
It is, the audio market is growing. I've some figures, of course. It's been growing. Digital audio consumption is growing, and also, Kushal, even before we launched, uh, we got a great sponsor for one of our shows in Bangla, ITC Ashirwad. presented our Purano Kolkata Golpo series, 10-part series, which is unfolding. Today is the third part releasing. It will also be played. It's also being played on Fever FM. And ITC came forward. ITC found value in this kind of a content. And so I guess, and they make extremely hard-nosed decisions. They don't get into these things without them finding value in this. So we are pretty sure that this will be. But yeah, you are right. It's an immensely tough path because it's being just laid out right now. So how people like you, why others here create content, how compelling that content is, will eventually decide. Nobody can write a blank check and say that okay, we are going to succeed. It is going to be immensely tough, but yes, we are pretty sure that we will do well. We have got actually tremendous response for this, I must say. And
So,
in and
no, please
the
finish your point. Yeah.
sorry, no, the media is extremely polarized right now, as you can see. But we have from all sides of the divide. People have liked it. People have found it novel, innovative, interesting.
Yeah, so actually that was going to be my question to you, that in such a polarized atmosphere that we have today, where everybody basically attributes motives and malice to, I mean, I don't know, it's just step onto Twitter and it's like, walking on eggshells all the time. I don't know which tweet is going to offend which person. It's like I think everybody should have a Twitter bio saying my sentiments are hurt, because their sentiments are hurt by default. It's like your default option is your sentiments are hurt. And in such an atmosphere, you're trying to generate content which is like entertainment, right? Where, I mean, I never realized. Look, I'm not going to deny the fact that there is always agenda-driven push in Bollywood. I mean, I don't consume Bollywood at a personal level. I never have, and just didn't enjoy it. But the point is that, I can't imagine a life where I'm a content producer and every time in the back of my head, one thing I have to worry about is, who am I going to offend? How does one? So my question to you, as someone who is now in the business of content production for such a long, I mean, you've been a known journalist in India, but now you're entering this, new audio video kind
Yep.
of a thing. So how does one actually mentally train oneself that, okay, I don't know who this might piss off, so how does one deal with that?
I think if you're not, one shouldn't think too much about it as a journalist. I think it helps in going back to the some of the good old tenets of basic journalism. कि भाई ये सच है, तुमको लगता है ये अच्छा स्टोरी है, लगता है if it is affecting a large number of people, just talk about it and put it out there. Now it will offend somebody or the other, that is okay. Among our first few stories, there was one on how the PM Kisan Yojana, especially at the states level, there was a small leakage. There is still a small leakage, of course. That after Modi came to power, and with digitization and stuff, that leakage has come down massively. But still, there is a leakage, and overall, it is in hundreds of crores. So we put that story out. It's a good story. I think even people in BJP more or less took it in the right spirit. Some said that, well, it has come down. I think you should credit the government for bringing it down. I said, it's not about crediting the government or anything. We're just, putting a fact out there. It's And if it is happening, it should stop. And it is not that only it is actually a bigger problem with state governments implementation of the thing. Just as Har Ghar Jal Yojana, no? Did you know that 29 out of 100, only 29 out of 100 homes in India have tap water coming to? I mean, when I first went into the figures, I was shocked. I mean, less than 3 homes in 10 get tap water, something that we just take for granted. यार कोई गरीब से गरीब को नल तो है ना, वहां से पानी आएगा, but it's not this thing. And of the 7 worst performing states, 4 are BJP ruled states. Of course, the worst is my own native state, Bengal. But so these are stories. I think one ought to go back to reporting like this. What if you try, consciously try to steer clear of agenda कि मुझे ये story करना है because I have a certain political view or leaning. You have a certain political view or leaning, but if you constantly sort of retrofit your content to fit your worldview or agenda, that I think becomes a problem. उसके बाद और कौन offend होता है नहीं होता है, I don't think we should think too much about that. उतना ज़्यादा फिर तो कुछ कर ही नहीं पाओगे.
True. So one last question before I let you go. So now you've had a history of being in print. I mean, you spent most of your life in print journalism, or you've written a lot. I mean,
you got me scared. You got me scared that you have a history.
So I can use this opportunity. मेरे पास तुम्हारे बारे में फाइल है.
तेरा 40 हाई हेलो का चीज मेरे पास.
Yeah. So how is this? So before we end the conversation, how has this been for you? I mean, exploring audio at a personal level, has it been more freeing, or you're still getting used to the idea of content generation when it comes to writing things or maybe speaking and creating content is actually a very different ball game altogether. Like, I suck at writing. I don't know how to write. I just struggle at it all the time. But I'm very comfortable if somebody tells me to speak about things. Like, it comes naturally to me. So how has this been for you at a personal level? Like, so because this is right now audio only. So how are you? Is it exciting? Is it challenging? How has it been?
No, I consider myself a trainee promoter, and I've been good as a trainee always. I mean, 25 years ago, I was a fabulous trainee journalist, sub-editor, or whatever. And I, even in this, I learn immensely every day. The thing is to let people who do it really well, let them do it, and learn, and also apply basic standards of journalism, etc. And from your so many years of experience, you apply those things when you do anything, and you learn. And audio is quite a, in a way, it's a little bit like print. When there is no visual, you are, it's just your voice.
Yeah.
To do things with this. In print, there is just your word, just those words that you sort of take to the person or to your audience. In audio, it's just your voice. So in a way, that's the that makes me less scared.
No, I can relate to you. Like, I always say this. If somebody asks me personally, what's your preferred option for my own podcast, is do you want video and audio, or the video, or just simply audio? I would always say audio. I love audio. I mean, I can just, close my eyes and focus on what I'm supposed to say. And I tend to have a lot more clarity. But I guess it's just the viewership of the podcast and the listenership of the podcast pushed me to the video zone. So yeah, I actually can relate to what you're saying right now. I love audio only. I personally, when it comes to consuming podcasts as a listener, I don't use YouTube. I use Spotify. I would use Stitcher. I would use the audio only modem unless there is some presentation that I want to see. I'm not interested in looking at anybody's face. I just want to listen to what they're talking about. So yeah, you're absolutely right in that sense.
Yeah. No, you should. I think you do fabulously. You do audio fabulously well. So it's something that I would request you not to entirely go into video, leaving the audio space.
I hope so.
In fact, we would love to have you on the EarShot platform in some, either to talk to you or, doing a show or something. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I would be more than happy. I love talking. So as long as I'm supposed to talk, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't like talking, but you've made me talk enough.
So see, you were reluctant, but I forced you into this. So that's the way it is. I force people into this. My job is to make people talk. This is a minor win for me, I guess.
No, major win. I mean, yeah, but it was a pleasure speaking to you, Kushal, as always. I mean,
yeah. So guys, it's time to wrap up the discussion. So before we wrap things up, I once again want to tell you guys, if you go to the description of the podcast, whether it's a YouTube video or whether you're going to listen to this later on the audio only platform, doesn't matter if it's on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcast, I'm going to leave the links to earshot.in. I insist, if you are listening to this podcast, download the EarShot app, subscribe to it. You can also visit the website. You can follow Abhijit Da on Twitter. I've left his Twitter handle in the description of the podcast too. So once again, Abhijit Da, I wish you all the best for this new venture of podcasting and content production. And thanks a lot for coming on the Charvak podcast.
Thank you so much, Kushal. This is incredible encouragement. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right, guys. You know the drill. Subscribe to the podcast, like, comment. And if you like what I'm doing over here, please go and join the YouTube membership. Or if you want to go on Patreon, you can become a member on Patreon. If you want to buy the t-shirts, you know how to contact me. You can email me at contact@kushalmehra.com. I try my best to, talk to interesting people of different fields. So until then, I'll see you guys next time. Namaste. Take care. Goodbye.